When I took a tactical pistol class a few weeks ago, I experienced a surprising revelation. Several of the concepts my instructor discussed were already familiar to me, despite the tactical pistol class being my first serious endeavor into the world of firearms. Before this class, my relationship with firearms involved a formal sense of respect. I was aware of the power and destructive properties of guns, so I respected them and kept my distance. However, standing on the class firing line and participating in synchronized firing drills forced me to know the gun, and to my surprise, it was as if we had already spoken before. Recreationally, I am an avid player of first-person shooter games, also known as FPS games. When I was younger, I immersed myself in games such as Halo, Fallout, and Overwatch. In recent years, I prefer games like Destiny 2, Rainbow Six Siege, and Apex Legends. Even though FPS games have been an influential part of my life, I always reminded myself that the lessons I learned about firearms in those games could not be directly applied to real firearms. But what if I was wrong? Rainbow Six Siege is a tactical shooter where an attacking team must infiltrate a building protected by the defensive team. Both teams have characters with unique gadgets, such as Doc, an operator with a health stim that can be fired at his teammates, or Jackal, an operator who can view the enemy's footprints and track their location. One factor that sets Rainbow Six Siege apart from other first-person shooters is that the environment is not bulletproof. Walls, ceilings, and floors can be punctured by bullets from either team, creating a necessity for environmental awareness. A careless bullet has the potential to eliminate an enemy, or kill a teammate. This threat is increased due to the complete destructibility of walls, as players can use a shotgun or grenade to chip small holes in a wall, killing enemy players while remaining virtually invisible. Rainbow Six Siege demands that the player pay careful attention to what is around them, as a lack of vigilance often leads to death. This lesson becomes visceral when real firearms come into play. In reality, most walls, ceilings, and cars are far from bulletproof. A careless bullet doesn't lodge itself into the drywall of a domestic house. It goes through it, and into whatever is on the other side. In my tactical pistol class, my instructor taught his students to always know what is in the path of your bullet. Before firing the gun, you must be aware of what you might hit, and be sure it is only something you are willing to destroy. Rainbow Six Siege subconsciously teaches players this exact concept, but in an environment where the stakes are much lower. If a player accidentally sends a bullet through the head of one of his teammates, they are likely to receive verbal backlash from the team and potentially friendly fire during the next round. These consequences condition the player to be aware of their surroundings, knowing for certain a teammate is far from the path of their bullet before firing. When learning to fire a handgun, several instructors recommend using iron sights instead of red dot or reflex sights. Every gun is created with iron sights, even guns that typically require attachments for accurate aim. During my tactical pistol class, I only ever aimed using the gun's iron sights. In order to aim with iron sights, the two rear sights on the left and right must line up evenly with the front sight in the center. If the rear and front sights are not level, the bullet will travel with less accuracy, veering off to one side. While learning to execute this aim technique properly, I found that it was easier for me to visualize proper iron sight leveling, due to Rainbow Six Siege's handguns that typically only come with iron sights. I was already familiar with the visual experience of looking down the sights of a handgun, and correctly leveling these sights, despite my limited interaction with physical firearms. My ease with iron sights removed some of the apprehension inherent in learning new techniques, and allowed me to move on to advanced techniques more quickly. Speed is easy. Accurate speed takes years to master. This lesson drilled itself into my head as I strove to not only hit the target, but do so in the same rhythm as other shooters on the line. At times, I was afraid of falling behind and being the last one to fire my weapon, so I rushed my shots. The outcome never changed. My bullets consistently drifted to the lower left of where I wanted them to hit. When my instructor noticed me compromising accuracy in favor of speed, he walked over and reminded me to calmly fire the weapon, even if it meant I took longer to shoot. After following his instructions, my accuracy always improved. One game that illustrates this concept is Valorant, a first-person shooter where one team seeks to defend bomb sites, and the other team is responsible for planting the bomb and protecting it until it explodes. Valorant takes several notes from the game Counter-Strike, in that player movement drastically reduces the player's firearm accuracy. The ideal position for accuracy is standing completely still, and any movement beyond that noticeably punishes accuracy. The ability to slow walk allows players to traverse a map gradually, while also maintaining relative accuracy, although standing still is the best possible option for consistent accuracy. Although the necessity to slowly move around the map can be frustrating at times, it is true to life. Simultaneously walking and shooting accurately is difficult to execute in reality, let alone running and shooting a firearm. The best position for accurate aim is, like in Valorant, standing completely still. Some games, such as Overwatch, are dependent on movement in gunfights, and do not greatly punish accuracy during movement. These games compromise realism for nuanced gameplay mechanics, unlike Valorant, which makes reality a gameplay mechanic of its own. Even so, movement-based games like Overwatch provide helpful examples for learning other firearm practices. In the middle of an extended gunfight, both parties are bound to run out of bullets in their magazine at some point. In this situation, the gun must be reloaded, and quickly. The longer it takes to reload, the more time the enemy has to reposition or reload his own gun. In the tactical pistol class, my instructor taught us two methods of reloading: a tactical reload and a combat reload. Tactical reloads are most effective during a lull in the gunfight, and can be done when a magazine is nearly empty. To execute a tactical reload, you release the gun's magazine and grab it with your left hand. Next, place a partially depleted magazine in your pocket, retrieving a full one with the same hand. Finally, insert the magazine into the weapon and prepare to fire if necessary. Combat reloads are effective in the middle of a gunfight, and are typically done when the magazine is fully empty. During a combat reload, you release the gun's magazine and let it drop to the floor, inserting the next magazine with your left hand. Combat reloads are fast, and meant to be executed in the midst of danger. While learning the combat reload, a certain Overwatch character's reload came to mind, giving me a visual reference for the maneuver. Reaper, a character from the game Overwatch, drops his two guns completely while reloading, refusing to attach any sentimental value to the weapons. Instead of reloading the weapons, he leaves them in the dust in the name of efficiency and speed. Although this technique is not recommended with real firearms, the underlying concept remains applicable. When the bullets are already flying, spending extra time to keep an empty magazine while reloading is unwise and dangerous. It is best to drop the magazine on the ground and retrieve it later, rather than risk your life for tools that can be easily replaced. In the same way that saying Mario Kart teaches you how to drive raises suspicion, I'm aware that the claim of video games taught me how to shoot may seem outlandish. However, without the visual references of first-person shooter games, a lot of the concepts I learned in the tactical pistol class would have no foundation to build on. While playing Rainbow Six Siege, I had no idea the game was subconsciously conditioning me into being aware of my surroundings before shooting. Until I had to personally line up the front and rear sights on my handgun, I was oblivious as to how Rainbow Six Siege taught me to properly level iron sights. Before experiencing the painful journey toward accuracy, I was blind to how Valorant had dissuaded me from unnecessary movement while shooting. Before learning combat reload, I never realized that Overwatch was visualizing the reload process. These games taught me firearm concepts in a safe location, with lower stakes in reality. Although gun practices in first-person shooter games shouldn't be applied to reality verbatim, there are concepts within games that can be used as groundwork for learning about real firearms. These visual examples allow people to become familiar with the theory of firearms long before physically firing a gun, creating a sense of ease at the gun range. While it is entirely possible to learn firearm theory without mental models from video games, integrating these two topics may prove beneficial for those who already play games. In the end, first-person shooters may not teach you how to shoot, but they do provide visual examples for foundational gun techniques, which can be built upon with further firearm training.